So you got a fancy camera laying around, you want to take better photos in low light, but you don't know how, and you certainly don't want to spend any more money. What can you do? Don't worry, Uncle Jason Vong got 5 tips for you. A few things us Asians know best is how to take good photos and save money.
And this helpful guide is brought to you guys by Squarespace. Tip number 1, using direct flash, but with a twist.
Quite literally, chances are any beginner cameras like this will have a built-in flash, so pop it, twist it, and you should get results like these. Our subject in focus, but the background is warpy. Now the key here is to use a slow shutter speed, increasing the fraction number and doing some kind of motion as we hit the shutter button, which will give us this ethereal effect. Ooh, such vibe. Twist.
Oh my God.
Now you can twist as hard as you like. The harder you twist, the more of a swirly effect that you get, or just a subtle bounce will get you some nice motion blur. Nice. Oh, hey, look at this. Threw my neck out for that.
So if I do this, I go.
Yeah, you got it.
Tip 1B, use a tissue.
The direct flash from our cameras can be a bit harsh sometimes. It creates this deer in the headlights look that pro photographers generally frown upon. I don't know why. Maybe they hit a deer or something and it's triggering their PTSD. So what you can do is, after you've eaten at a restaurant, take a new napkin and drape it over your flash, and it should help soften the lighting on your subject, making them look less like a deer and a lot more flattering. Hopefully.
Tip number 2, finding free light.
Cute.
The reason why most beginners struggle with low light photography is because they take it too literally. When we take photos in pitch darkness, of course we're not going to get good results. But finding any hint of light will always elevate our photos. It just adds layers, it adds substance. Now when it comes to doing portraits, you might see other photographers bring a giant light source with them everywhere they go. But that's a fool's errand. Hey, no hate on the professional photographers, okay? The secret is to bring your subject to the light.
If you take a photo of your subjects in the dark with a dark background, there's no separation. So look out for any kind of available light and have your subject face it. The bigger and more free the light source is, the better. Hey, nothing beats free. Whoa, look at all this free light.
Tip number 3, finding flat surfaces.
Flash surfaces?
Flat.
So one of the biggest struggles when it comes to doing handheld night photography is that usually the results that we get are either too blurry or too grainy because our auto ISO here will raise it beyond the unusable level. But what if I told you that it doesn't matter what camera you have, it can be a literal potato. So long as it's on a rock solid surface, it can take some amazing low light photos. So what we're gonna do is a thing called long exposure, in which we're gonna let the camera gather in as much light for as long as possible. All right, so we're gonna use this random traffic light right here, and we found this lipstick on the floor, okay? Totally didn't borrow this from Vivienne or anything, but we're gonna use this to help angle the camera, so...
And this point and shoot camera is as potato as they come. Okay, not really. It's an amazing camera, but it is a small 1-inch sensor camera that typically does not excel in low light.
That looks pretty good.
But with this simple long exposure trick, we can still get amazing results that rival cameras with bigger sensors.
And so the key thing to do here is, and you might want to write this down or screenshot this, okay? Activate your 2-second timer, then go into manual mode, which is the M on your camera right here. Set your ISO to 100, open up your aperture to the widest possible, aka the smallest number, and then run your shutter to the left, increasing the fraction number until it becomes whole numbers. Now you want to watch your meter right here. Once it's at 0, or even at -0.3, you take your photo. Now, depending on how much light is available, you may not even need the whole 30 seconds.
While it may seem like we're using a random object to prop up the camera, the point of the lesson is use whatever you got on you to make the shot work. Part of being a good photographer is being a resourceful one.
Alright, but seriously though, don't be too cheap. Just get yourself a tripod from Amazon, okay? It's just $20 and you get some height for your photos. That's a good deal.
Tip number 4, panning motion.
So you can capture some really interesting motion shots by doing a technique that I recently love, the shutter pan, in which we follow a moving subject and snapping the photo. Now the key here is using slow shutter speed again. Start with 1/15 first, and if it looks too blurry, you can increase it to 1/20 or 1/25. The goal here is to get the subject in focus while the background is stretched out.
And the lens that I'm using here isn't even one of those fancy fast aperture ones. It's f4 only, which most beginner lenses are capped at on the widest end, but we're still pulling off some decent results.
If you want to learn how to use shutter speed more effectively, how it works, and how it affects light, cue up my video on shutter speed for beginners right up here. Or is it here? But the last tip I want to leave you with is just some editing tricks that you can apply to your photos.
Tip number 5, editing.
First, if you're subscribed to Adobe Lightroom, the denoise feature is actually pretty dang good. If you actually took a photo where you see a lot of noise and grain, like we did earlier, run it through the denoise feature and it should clean it up pretty well. The second thing to know is masking. You can use the subject masking tool to create an adjustable mask where you can further brighten your subject and darken the background to create a faux spotlight effect. And it would really help if you found some of that free light that we were talking about. And finally, to trick people into thinking you have an expensive lens, use the lens blur feature to further enhance the bokeh. You didn't get this tip from me. Just don't go overboard to the point where it looks fake. For more helpful photography tips, check out my resource playlist right up here. Thank you so much for watching, and stick around to listen to what my sponsor Squarespace has to say. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to create beautiful websites. No coding knowledge needed. Just simply choose from their many templates and designs. Perfect for photographers and online shop owners. Use my link down below for a 14-day free trial, and when you're ready to launch, you can use my code JASONVONG to save 10% off your first purchase of your website or domain. And guys, thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Reuse, reduce, recycle. Even with a damn lipstick.